Hey everybody, let's go ahead and begin talking about the Enlightenment. You'll notice here on this slide, these are some of the other terms that refer to this same period of history. So if you ever hear Neoclassicism or the Age of Reason, this is the Enlightenment. Now, one thing I always like to mention is that when we take a look at the years, right, that we see here, these are just rough guides. With the Enlightenment, it does not have a clear beginning or ending. Here we see four of the chief characteristics of the Enlightenment. How did the Enlightenment come about? Peace and tolerance, technological advancements, the growth of literacy, and then, believe it or not, coffee. So, the top of this slide, there's the famous quote from Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am. The Enlightenment happens after the Renaissance. So you remember the Renaissance, that was the rebirth of classical knowledge from ancient Greece and ancient Rome that changed Western civilization. So the Enlightenment really is building upon the Renaissance and is continuing to follow those same classical models. And this is where we get the term Neoclassicism. So if we look at the word Neoclassicism, here we see the word classics, right? Refers to ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and neo is new. So they're building upon, right, the new classics, is building upon the continued discoveries and advancements. And one of those was humanism. Humanism refers to following humanistic values, worldly values, as opposed to religious ones. So what would be an example of this would be the belief of, on earth, pursuing perfectibility. Whereas before, in the medieval period, emphasis was upon salvation and the life hereafter. But so now we're interested in improving life now. And one of the big values of the Enlightenment is rationalism, right? Things have to be logical and make sense. They have to be rational. Some of the many different advancements with science and technology that happened during the Enlightenment. With astronomy, the refinements made to the telescope, further proof of the heliocentric model, that the sun is at the center of our solar system, discovery of a new planet. Yes, wow, big news. Chemistry and physics. This is when the laws of gravitation, right, those formulas come about. Oxygen is discovered. Inventions, key inventions. Steam engine, fire extinguisher, thermometer, right? And if we think about these, right, these inventions all have practical applications, right? So with the steam engine, right? So what can happen now is we can have factories, right, that will power all the machines, so we don't have to have a factory being built on the shore of a river and having the water power. Now we can control our own power. The printing press, of course, was one of the key inventions of the Renaissance, but the printing press is being improved upon so you can publish more books faster, and that results in the decline of the price of books. So more people are able to read and have a reason to read because there's all these different publications coming out. And just in case you're curious, is during the Enlightenment that the first dictionary and encyclopedia is published. Wow, how cool is that? So a lot of people think, well, what's the big deal about all this, Mr. K? Well, the big deal is that if you remember that the Enlightenment is about rational and logical thinking, and now more people are thinking rationally and logically. So what we have is kind of a cycle with all this stuff going on, right? We have a cycle that starts to fuel itself, right? A cycle. But this cycle, what it's really doing, it's like a coil, right? And it's moving upwards. So we have all of these changes that are going on that cause other changes to happen, and life really starts to get better for more and more people during the Enlightenment. Another quote, "I wonder if it is not better to try to correct and moderate men's passions than to try to suppress them altogether." Two of the characteristics of the Enlightenment are rigidity and tolerance. During this time in history, all the European countries were monarchies. So socially, class structure is rigid. And what we mean by rigid is that it's pretty much fixed. There's very little social mobility. Also, during the Renaissance, there was the 30 Years' War. See those years listed here. And what the 30 Years' War basically was is that after there was the Protestant Reformation, countries divided themselves into either being Catholic or Protestant. And then what the 30 Years' War was is that for 30 years, Catholics would get together, all the different Catholic countries, and then they would invade Protestant countries and they would kill Protestants. And then all the Protestant countries would get together and invade Catholics and the Catholic countries and kill Catholics, which is just crazy. But they realized that this is really not a good way to, live. So they got together and signed a peace treaty and said they wouldn't kill each other over what church you went to. So tolerance. We just have to learn to get together. You'll note that these different countries still have religious differences, but they more so become part of a country's class structure and not a cause for war, which is a good thing. So, rigidity and tolerance. So, we'll continue to talk about rigidity in the next slide.